specific.
One more very specific question for our viewers, because we get a lot of questions on this specific subject, which I cannot answer. But you, out of all the people that we know, you again are the probably best researched person. It's very controversial, but what is adrenochrome?
It's a psychoactive molecule that is activated in human blood when the human subject or victim is tortured. And it in the same way that a cat toys with a mouse before eviscerating it and pulling out its kidneys and slowly killing it. That is known to the feline species, that the more you adrenalize the blood of the victim, the more prana or life force you can transduce or induce through the intaking of that blood. So in simple terms, these perverse, sociopathic, subhuman entities that proliferate in Hollywood and on the big screen, and pop idols and rock gods and sports idols amongst political leadership and royalty, elements within royalty as well as bosses of the corporatocracy, the oligarchies. These are the powerful technocrats and mediums that exist in government and in the banking sector, in the commercial arena, in the military-industrial complex, in the mainstream media and press as well. So you've got this. These folks are variously conjoined blood covenants through long-standing blood ritualism. It sounds absurd. It sounds like a bad Batman script, but alas, alack, it's all too real. And again, I have no time any longer in my life to waste on trying to argue with people who are choosing to remain blinkered into their own traffic line. The fact of the matter is that this goes on. The adrenochrome molecule is arguably the most prized element on Earth, and with a higher value, one imagines, than even platinum or helium-3, which you can only scoop off the moon. So the fact is that to get a pranic rush is similar to a kind of a hyperdimensional cocaine rush. So harvesting blood, terrorizing the victim, conducting the most aberrant satanic rituals becomes of paramount importance to this diabolical echelon, some of whom, incidentally, are almost certainly watching this broadcast, and they know this to be so. And what they're requiring is to be anchored to the temporal plane, because they've already abnegated their consciousness and their conscience. Their spiritual sacrament has been so violated through their own choice in surrendering or abnegating their true conscience, that they have already been walked into and are now under the remote influence of the egregore, or the lower astral intelligence, or the demon, if you wish to look at it that way, if you wish to use that reductive language. Bottom line is they're subhuman. They're not Homo sapien universalis or Homo sapien sapien or Homo sapien frater like we are. They are absent in their capacity for empathy, for compassion, or to love or be loved. And my heart goes out to them for that fact. But that, again, was a chronology and a pathology of choice that was undertaken, made, and taken by each of them. So they've got to a point where the only way they can anchor, or the only way the egregore energy can anchor through them in the temporal realm, is to continue imbibing the adrenochrome, or the traumatized blood. And so in simple terms, that's why the toddlers are sodomized and raped, is because it's an inversion of Kundalini. It's a technique to invert the life force, the prana, the Kundalini, or the chi of that victim. And in order to, again, induce or transduce that very, very hyperdimensionally active life force into the perpetrator. So it's very ugly stuff. But when you get into advanced Satanism, that's the game you play, or you perish, because by the time you learn about blood drinking and the fact that you are required to go into the blood covenant, it's normally too late for you to extricate yourself.
But it's really, really hard to believe. It's unconfrontable almost to your average person.
Yeah. Yes, but I would say it's equally as impossible to believe much of the mythological bullshit written into our Gospels and into our religious books, which again have also been maligned by Babylonian priesthoods over the generations. So the mystical traditions of our true faith has been violated and turned into caricature and create stories that we're supposed to believe now. So again, how do we look at reality? Truth and fiction. All of us are invariably indentured into the fiction in our lives. We're paying coin to Caesar. We're paying taxes to a creature that by distinction eats us alive and penalizes us and puts us into prison and poisons us. So at what point do we choose to wake up into true reality? So we're actually living in the dream spell. So good. Let people in the dream spell believe that what I'm saying is the dream, or is the folly, but it's not, and we know it. All of those of us who are possessed of a conscience and of a pulse, we know when we're asleep, and we know when we get that call to begin the awakening. And the two of you are doing an enormous good to the world in helping to act as a primary artery for truthing and for disclosure. And you guys have got so much, in a sense, not to lose, but you're putting a lot on the line. To put yourselves at the front line of truth and disclosure. You guys lead an idyllic life, a comfortable life. You are hallowed in your birth and in your beauty and in your intelligence. And like Donald Trump, I very much doubt you need to be doing this kind of a disclosure, but you're doing it in service to that same Christ of light that brings us together in this forum. And I'm very honored to be with you.
Well, it's fantastic. So thank you very much, Sacha. I get that. Thank you for your very, very straightforward explanation of the adrenochrome situation. People can do more research if they want to on that. You can Google it, but I think I haven't heard a better description. So is this why you will see the trajectory of, let's say, a politician or somebody in the arts? You know, they get close to power and then they just change, you know, because this is what I witnessed in Hollywood. I would be friends with somebody and all of a sudden they would become, you know, a star and they would just change, you know, and it was such a dramatic change. Or politicians that we've witnessed, and they get elected on a platform of, you know, education. And then all of a sudden, you know, you know, what happens, you know, I'm not referring to anybody in specifically here, because I really don't want to, you know, but is this the reason that we're seeing this behavior that we just can't understand? Because to me, from what you've said, their reason for taking this drug, this sounds to me like I mean, we all hear that heroin is an addictive drug or that crack cocaine is an addictive drug. We're talking about something that is so spiritually addictive.
Well, we don't.
That we don't. How addictive is this substance? Is it?
Well, what does it do?
Is it more addictive than, let's say, crack cocaine? Or it sounds to me that it's addictive for spiritual reasons as well as physical, biochemical reasons of the body.
Well, John, it's as simple as this. Without it, you die. Without it, you cannot sustain a temporal existence. Once you've engaged that compact, once you for the very first time engage that compact, there is no turning back, which is why the Faustian pact is so absolute, which is why the devil's silver crossing your palm is the compact. Never permission it, never allow it. People who have come very close to that compact have redeemed themselves, and the trauma that they went through in the redemption process is unprecedented. My beloved friend Ronald Bernard, the former central banker for the Illuminati, quote unquote, is one such subject, an incredibly beautiful, spiritualized and realized man now. But when he was brought in to the compact, to the covenant, he would not engage it because that Christed light within him emerged. I've heard this from others who were about to be sacrificed in ritual sacrifices. At the moment, Jay Parker is a classic example. Anyone go and look at his extraordinary life and story. I've made a few short films with him in the past. And Jay Parker is one example where when he had been primed as a youth to be sacrificed, and was being set up for it by his own mother and father within the circle or the cult that they were operating within in North America. At the moment that his own father and the priest were approaching him with the knife, with his mother in the front row, putting a lipstick on. You know, this was a social gathering. This is normal with these Satanists. At the moment at which he was supposed to had his carotid artery cut, at that moment, some energy came out of him and towered above him from behind, apprehending his father and the priest with the knife, and they saw it, stepped back and said, "Oh God, he's one of them. He's an untouchable." And they wrapped up the ceremony and went home. And that day on, they couldn't touch him. So you see, the point I'm making is that we all have this, and to anyone who's watching or listening to this, who's concerned for themselves at the soul level, know that you have that Christed flame, but you have to invoke it. It has to be an act of consciousness on your part to actualize that flame. Ask and ye shall receive. It's as simple as that.
Ask and ye shall receive. That is absolutely one of the truest statements that our Lord Jesus Christ ever made.